Joining me now is California Congressman John Garamendi. He's a senior member of the House Armed Service Committee. Congressman, you were briefed Thursday by Defense Secretary Mattis on the apparent chemical weapons attack there in Syria that led to the airstrike earlier this evening. Can you kind of walk us through that process? Obviously, we're not able to be in those meetings. How did that go, and did it play out as expected?
Actually, it was a very, very public meeting. Secretary Mattis and Chief of Staff Dunford, both of them were testifying. The issue came up about the president's tweet in which he threatened a strike, and I specifically asked Secretary Mattis, I said, what is the legal authority that exists for such an attack on a country? And he then said it was Article 2 of the Constitution. Well, I picked up Article 2 of the Constitution and I read it. There's no such authority. The authority that the president has is to be commander-in-chief. The authority to launch an attack on a country resides with Congress. That would be Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. The War Powers Act also fits into this, but it's just not clear. Beyond that, an opportunity has been missed here to literally force the administration in coming to Congress to explain what it wants to do. In other words, develop a coherent policy, a strategy, a goal, lay it out for Congress. Here's what we intend to do. Here's how we're going to go about doing it. Here are the resources we need to carry it out. That hasn't happened. And so we go into today with undoubtedly some sort of pushback from Syria, quite possibly Russia, Iran, without the next step, without clarity as to what it is we're going to want to do. Fortunately, we do have France and Britain involved with us. That's helpful. But once again, there is no coherent strategy, and frankly, this entire attack is outside the scope of the president's power.
And Congressman, we all wait with bated breath right now. He said at 9 o'clock in his comments, I quote, in 2013, President Putin and his government promised the world that they would guarantee the elimination of Syria's chemical weapons. Assad's recent attack and today's response are the direct result of Russia's failures to keep that promise. Russia must decide if it will continue down the dark path or if it will join with civilized nations for a force of stability and peace. We're all just waiting to see what happens next with Russia and Iran.
Well, certainly we are waiting. Also, the statement is partially correct, but not entirely correct. In fact, in 2013, there was an agreement, an international agreement. It did involve Russia and other countries. The chemical weapons were removed, and their removal, as well as the equipment to make those future weapons, were dismantled. Much of those weapons were actually disposed of on an American ship operating in the eastern Mediterranean. In the intervening period of time, and this is where the president is correct, in the intervening period of time, Assad did reinstitute his chemical weapon program, mostly using chlorine gas. Quite possibly sarin is also involved in all of this. So going forward, yes, Russia clearly has a lot of blame on its shoulders because they are one of the two countries that are the principal guarantors of the Assad regime. The other guarantor is another outlier, and that would be Iran. So together, those two countries have a very serious implication in the chemical attacks. And yes, indeed, we should hold Russia accountable. Now, how do we go about doing that? We need to build a coalition. Certainly Turkey, Israel, other countries in the area, Iraq, all of those countries have a stake in what happens in Syria. We need to have that kind of a strategy built up. We need to build up the alliances, Europe, NATO, all of that, and put in place. One other thing, the previous the people that were talking here, Willie, I guess it's Wally, was very, very good in laying out part of the problem that exists. Clearly, the Obama administration failed in its attempts to deal with the Syrian situation. They did have a strategy. It simply didn't work. They were unable to identify an organization or one of the subsets of the resistance to work with. Turned out most of them were bad actors. So, yes, that was a serious problem and a failure of the Obama administration. We don't need another failure here. It's pretty clear going forward we're going to have to deal with Assad for some time into the future. Now, how can we do that in a way that maintains our principal national interest? Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Congressman. We appreciate your time.